We're live.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the monthly Speaking Up series of the International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom. So today is August 31st, Sunday, 2025, and it is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You see our logo in the next slide. And on behalf of the Board of Directors of the ICHRRF and the executive team of the ICHRRF, I invite all of you to our monthly Speaking Up series. A little bit about our mission statement. International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom is a US-based nonprofit focused on upholding human rights and religious freedom through continuous monitoring, policy intervention, and collaboration. We are focused on educational, research, legal, and human rights advocacy and charitable purposes, and strive to be an advocate for human rights and religious freedom of underrepresented communities across the world. We believe that humankind can no longer afford to be selectively vocal about the rights of only a specific set of people. A humane and just world necessitates fair and equitable treatment of all living human beings. Our focus is on indigenous rights and freedom, free speech, and their cultural preservation. Some of our initiatives include monitoring violations of freedoms and sanctity of religion and philosophical minorities across the world, research into and documentation of the culture, history, and challenges faced by such communities, policy recommendations on human rights, religious diversities, and pluralism to international organizations, agencies, national and local governments, collaboration to support the cultural and philosophical diversity across the world, and Professor Ved P. Nanda Memorial Fellowship Training Program. Our annual conference is scheduled for October 10th to 11th, 2025 at George Mason University in Point of View Room at Lorton, Virginia, on the theme of atrocities on women. And as you would see, this is the flyer for our third annual convention, Atrocities on Women. It is scheduled on October 10th and 11th, 2025. Next slide, please. So the topic for today's Speaking Up series oration is Religious Apartheid, Interfaith Marriage's Ban in Islamic Nations. Our distinguished speaker is Dr. Dilip Amin. Let's go to the next slide, please. So this actually shows an early treaty between Islam and Christianity in which Muslim men were allowed to marry Christian women, but they had to convert. So that was the early in 7th, 8th century AD. Let's move on. And this is our distinguished speaker, Dr. Dilip Amin. I'll be speaking a little bit about him. Let's move on to our next slide. Dr. Amin is a biomedical scientist by profession, and he holds a PhD degree in biomedical sciences. He is the founder of Interfaith Shaadi.org and HinduSpeakers.org. He serves as the director of the Peninsula Multifaith Coalition in San Francisco Bay Area. He is a Dharma Ambassador and has previously been on the advisory committee of the Hindu American Foundation. He is also a jail chaplain and a columnist for Patheos. Over the last 19-20 years, he has guided about 1,300 young adults in interfaith relationships, sharing his insights in 5 books, including Interfaith Marriage, Share and Respect with Equality, which was published by Mount Meru, Hindu Muslim Shaadi, Samasyayen Aur Samadhan in Hindi by Garuda Prakashan, and Hindu Muslim Marriage, Difficulties and Reconciliation, again by Garuda Prakashan. He is also the co-author of Hindu Vivaha Samskara. Let's move on. This is the title of his book, Interfaith Marriages, Share Respect with Equality. Next, please. So we are talking about religious apartheid in interfaith marriages in Islamic nations. In any interfaith initiative, the basis is equality, respect, reciprocity, and mutual acceptance and mutual tolerance. It cannot be a one-way street, my way or highway. Let's move on. Love and marriage are the building blocks of human society, and the nature of the family unit has been shown to correlate with political bent of mind of a society's individuals and by the way they treat fellow human beings. Studies have shown that Islamic world stands out in the number of nations that impose a ban on interfaith marriages, including active interventions and penalties. In almost all the Islamic nations, in case of interfaith marriages, the non-Muslim partner must convert to Islam prior to marriage. So there is a de facto religious apartheid being practiced in Islamic nations to this day. This webinar will delve into the causes and ramifications of this. After Dr. Amin's lectures, we will entertain questions and answers. Next slide, please. Few housekeeping rules. Please mute yourself to avoid noise interference. Please change your cell phone to vibration mode. Please do not interrupt our esteemed speaker. Questions will be taken only after the speaker is done with his lecture. All the questions are moderated through the chat room. Please be precise and brief in your questions. Only those members of the audience who identify themselves on video camera will be allowed to ask questions. No anonymous questioners, please. This session is being recorded. It will be available on our website and our YouTube channel as an educational resource for future to come. And without further ado, it is my honor and pleasure to give the platform to Dr. Dilip Amin, who will be speaking on the topic of religious apartheid, interfaith marriage bans in Islamic nations. Thank you, Dr. Amin. Please go ahead.
On my screen, let me just are you sharing the slides, Carl? Yeah, good. Okay, let's look at what is religious apartheid? Next slide, please. So in any nation, people likes to stay within their own comfortable zone, religious groups in their own silos. Some people decides to get into interfaith marriages, cross over to other silos, other culture, and go make living. So these are all matter of personal choices, religious liberties, and we should honor it. The problem is, next slide, when a when a country put a law that this particular block of people are cannot marry or according to the law, whatever they specify. And that's religious apartheid. Now, if they put this block on those people and completely make the solid block, that's not a concern. But here, as you can see, that they make a porous block. What I mean that the majority people can cross over these bridges, come to the minorities, in colleges, workplace, they date for 1 to 10 years. And when that party is ready to get married, next slide, government says that you want to marry, you have to convert to the majority group. So let's say that minority converted to majority, and in a year, that person gets a talaq. So now person says, this is not working. I hate this system. I don't want it. I want to go back to my roots. Next slide. But then government again intervene and they says, nope. Next slide. That's apostasy. You cannot leave this block. You must now, you are belongs to here. That's it. So now let's say in a year later, that person says that I want to remarry, and they like to marry their own kind. So they go back to their original roots, find a person to marry. But the second time also government says, nope, that person also has to convert to the majority group. Next slide. And their children's and grandchildren's and generations to come. Anytime there is an interfaith marriage, one more person get added to the majority. So as you can see, the system is designed to expand this particular block at the expense of minorities, and that's unfair. Next slide, please. So I'm a scientist. I love crunching a lot of data. That's what I'm trained for. So in this new research, I just published it. What I'm using is interfaith marriage as a tool, a marker for pluralism. I want to compare, there are so many religions. What is the pluralism in different faiths? And that's what I did this research. And what I found, bottom line, 99% of restrictions on interfaith marriages are imposed by Islamic countries. Next slide. Now, if you are interested in more numbers, that amounts to 1.1 billion Muslims. Next slide. And for others, it's some 7 million Jews there from Israel. Now, there is one difference. There is one difference between Jews and Muslims, and that is if you are in Israel, if you don't want to convert, what you do is go to next country, that is, let's say Greece, get civil married, come and register, and you bypass the law. Those options are not allowed in Muslim majority nations. Now you may be wondering that how about the Christians? And almost all Christian majority nations out of 122, only one, and that's Vatican City, that's not even a full-fledged nation. They give full freedom of interfaith marriages. So you can see there is a major stark difference between Christianity and Islam. And we will focus that point in these particular presentations. And next slide. And as expected, dharmics are pluralists. They do not, their scriptures does not have that concept of other religions, and there is no restrictions on interfaith marriage in all 14 dharmic nations. Next slide, please. Now you may be wondering why I'm coming to ICHRRF today. I looked at their missions, and it exactly match exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm here for educational purpose. This is the real research I have done. We are discussing legal matters. It's for charitable purpose. I strive to educate the public, and it is a human right issue, because the minority, the Muslim women are discriminated. Anybody atheist or agnostic or who don't believe in Islam, but they are given the name, they are discriminated. So this is a question of religious freedom, and that's a problem. And most importantly, the underrepresented communities, the minorities, are the most sufferer because of these religious silos. So what I'm hoping from ICHRRF is you write some policy recommendations to United Nations or somewhere, because this is a human right issue. And if we can achieve that, it will increase the religious diversity and pluralism. Next slide, please. So you may wonder, how did I do the research? What I did, that I used the Hiddush data, that's an Israeli-American think tank, and they have gone through massive 195 countries data, and they crunch up and really big, huge study they have published. And what they have published is the freedom of marriage. not interfaith marriage, but marriage, in which one they have lumped all kind of issues like polygamy, forced marriages, underage marriages, and all that. What I did that I removed all those other things, kept only interfaith marriage out of those data. Next slide. And then I took Hussein Kitani's really massive demographic work, population analysis as of 2020. And I plugged in those data number sets into Hiddush data. And next slide. I determined the freedom of interfaith marriage. Next slide. And as you can see, I published this article in Patheos. It's a long, big 18-page articles, and you will find it very interesting. Next slide, please. So bottom line, 99.4% of restrictions are imposed by Muslim majority nations on Muslims. Some 0.6% or 7 million Jews nominal, almost none Christians, and none Dharmic for sure. Next slide. You may find this slide interesting. Next slide, please. If you focus on the countries, okay, if you focus on the countries, there are 53 countries with a Muslim majority. Of that, 32 or 60% of those countries have severe restrictions on interfaith marriages. And interestingly, 21, that is 40% of those countries, have full freedom of interfaith marriage. Next slide, please. Next. If you look at the population, those countries have 1.8 billion people. Of that, 1.6 billion are Muslims. As I said, 1.1 billion people have restrictions, and some 500 million people don't have any restrictions. Next slide. Next. So if you considering there are 85% of people on those countries are Muslim, some 71% of the Muslims in those 53 countries have severe restrictions. Some 29% have full freedom of interfaith marriage. Next slide. Next. This is the most important point, and that is freedom of interfaith marriage is allowed in 21 Islamic nations, even though they have 86% of populations are Muslim. So where is the disconnect? They could have made any laws for them. So the point I'm trying to make that my presentation is not against Islam. It's not against the Quran, but it's against the intolerant interpretation of the Quran by these 32 Islamic nations and many other believers of the Sharia. Next slide. See, to start with, that 1.1 billion number is severely underreported. See, as a scientist, I have to have a really valid data to analyze that, which I don't have it, and that's why I reported whatever I have the data. For the example, I said that in Islamic nations, majority nations, Chad and Senegal, they have a full freedom of interfaith marriage, and I put the number 0 from those countries. But in those countries, they allow Sharia practices in that certain segments. And if I had those numbers, those numbers will go much higher than 1.1 billion as I have reported. Next slide. Even Christian majority nations, Congo, Ghana, Philippines, they also allow Sharia practices. Next slide. Countries like Turkey, they may be liberal, but the community is socially and culturally intolerant to such unions. Next slide. India, a Hindu majority nation, everybody has full liberty of marrying whoever they wish to. But when the Hindu and Muslim marry in India, even though Muslims have full freedom of interfaith marriage and marry by the civil marriage, they choose to marry by the Sharia-based Muslim Personal Law 1937, and they will ask or impose the Hindu party to convert to Islam and that get married. I do not have any number, but I would say probably 90% of marriages in India or more, Hindu party must convert to Islam, even though they have a full liberty. And next slide. Even in West, in America, In my own company, I used to work in San Francisco, Genentech. Only two colleagues were Muslims, and both of them converted their wives to Islam because they believed in this Sharia, even in most progressive states and nation and the city. Next slide. I have published in my book that 45%, my own survey, that 45% of Muslims in America, they marry interfaith or marry outside the Islam. And I suspect majority of them also ask their spouse to convert to Islam, which I don't have number. So if you put collectively all those numbers, the restrictions on interfaith marriages probably is way, way much higher than $1.1 billion, 1.1 billion Muslims. Next slide. You may be wondering, what is about Israel? Israel don't have any civil marriage. You cannot. And even all kind of Jews, they must conduct, the weddings should be conducted only by Orthodox Jewish law and officially recognized by the Jewish majority population. But in Israel, as I said, that if you want to marry a Jew, let's say Muslim wants to marry a Jew, only thing they need to do is just fly to next country, Greece, register, have the civil marriage, come back to Israel, and Ministry of Interior accepts the civil marriage performed abroad. So this is relatively an accessible workaround. It's a loophole in the law. They put it on. Do you think that they did not know it? They knew it. They just want to give liberty to people to bypass. Next slide. Such liberty is not allowed in Muslim nations. Malaysia. Let's say you married in America to some Malay Muslim person. America, you lived here for 10 years, you have children, and then you decide, now we want to go and settle in Malaysia. So you go there. According to Malaysian law, you are a married person, you must re-register your marriage with the Malay representative. If you don't, then your marriage is not valid. You two people cohabitating is not valid. It could go under khalwat, zina laws, and you could get into legal trouble for illegally living with someone else. Next slide. So interfaith couple who married outside Malaysia cannot register their interfaith marriage in Malaysia, and their children will not have a benefit of Malaysian citizenship. Next slide. In Malaysia, everyone has their ID card, and in Muslims' ID card, as you can see in the circle, it says Islam. So when you go for registration, the clerk has to only check whether, okay, your card says Islam, your card says Islam, will let you convert, which will let you have the marriage or register your marriage. Let's say you have a child, then again ask for parents' ID card. If both of them have Islam written, the child will have that ID card with Islam. You cannot have, there is no other way. If you want the ID card, it will come with the Islam logo. And once that Islam logo goes on your ID card, there is no way, almost no way, you can remove that. Even you go to courts and all that, unless you migrate out of Malaysia. Next slide. Naturally, you'll be understanding. Dilip, tell me what about Pakistan and Bangladesh? Next slide. Next. So in Pakistan, 96.5 people are Muslims. And Muslims and divorce laws are governed by Sharia. Next slide, please. So Sanja has published a really beautiful article just this month. And what she is saying, that minority in Pakistan, Christians and Muslims, young girls get abducted. When they go and complain to the government, first government does that, take this girl and put it in the custody of another Muslim family, not a Christians and Hindu families. And when the court starts, judge has to only ask the imam, and imam will say, well, she said Kabul, she nodded, matter is over. The girl will be given to their abductor, and the Christians or Hindu parents will be left to crying. Nothing they can do because that's what their laws are. Hindu population in Pakistan in 1940 was 14.6%. Today is 1.6%, and it's going to be ever dwindling. And interfaith marriage may be playing a major role in this dwindling population. Next slide. Next. So Bangladesh, 89.6% people are there are Muslims, and they legally permit interfaith marriages. Very secular nation, great. But social norms makes them nearly impossible to have an Hindu-Muslim marriage in Bangladesh. Again, there also Hindu population declined from 28% some 80 years before to today roughly 8%. And again, it's ever declining. Interfaith marriages may be contributing to even further decline. Next slide. My Muslim Pakistani friend told me that in Pakistan and Bangladesh, you will not find a single Hindu-Muslim couple. And if there, will be executed. Next slide. Compared to that, the neighboring India, right in between two, you will find Hindu-Muslim couple in probably every major towns. So there is a major difference in the pluralism or open-mindedness about interfaith marriages or acceptance of others in these three countries, as you can see here. Next slide. So let's look at why there are restrictions on interfaith marriages. And as I said, let's focus on Christianity and Islam. See, I'm Hindu. So that way I remain biased. I don't have any reason to pick one over other favoring them. Next slide. Bible. On and on, there are many statements in Bible which are against interfaith marriages. I can read the last one, Corinthians. Do not unequally yoke together with unbeliever. See, Bible does not say don't marry Jews or Muslims or Hindus. It says unbeliever. So today, some Bible believer youth, today's youth says they can tell that, look, I'm marrying to a Lord Krishna believer. And that's it. American government cannot do anything against this, or if church doesn't like it, he can go and find the other church. So that's the status in regarding Christianity today. Next slide. Islam is a different story. Let's look at what Quran says. Quran 2:21, and I will repeat several times. So let me first just read whole Quran 2:21 since it's important. You shall not wed a pagan woman unless they embrace the faith. A believing slave girl is better than an idolatress, although she may please you. Nor shall you wed idolatress, that's for woman. You cannot wed idolatrous man unless they convert to Islam, and a believing slave man is better than an idolatress, although she may please you. Now, if a Hindu girl is in love with a Muslim and he says that, Quran 2:21, you will have to convert. What that part is telling you that I am interpreting that this word believer here in 2:21, meaning Hindus are not believers and they are kafir. And your position is less than a slave girl. So if you are a Hindu woman in love with a Muslim, and if he asks that you are less than a slave in my mind, why would you ever even think of marrying that such a religious fanatic? Next slide. Quran 60:11. As per Daud, it maintains that do not maintain your marriage with unbelieving woman. Next slide. See, Quran is binary. Halal, haram. Believer, kafir. So when Islamic nation says, whatever that 32 nations, they say that the Hindu cannot marry a Muslim. What they are saying, they are interpreting Quran 2:21 that they are not believers. That means Hindus are pagan, idolatrous, harami, kafir. Hindus should protest against such interpretation about their faith by these Islamic nations. Next slide. Sharia. A Muslim man can marry Christians or Jewish women. That is allowed. But children must be raised Muslims. People in India must be familiar with Bollywood star Saif Ali Khan. He married Kareena Kapoor. He did not ask her to convert, but the children are Taimur and Jahangir. So he's following Sharia. Muslim men cannot marry Hindu or Buddhist women because as per Sharia, they are harami kafirs. Muslim women are clearly discriminated by Sharia. As you can see, that men have more rights to marry Christian Jews. That right is not there because they are women. Simple. And in general, interfaith marriages will not be allowed in Sharia. Next slide. So basically, Sharia is designed to swell that box. And that's for their advantage. Next slide. So let's look at Christianity versus Islam head on. Next slide. Both of the religion, as we have seen, scriptures clearly restrict interfaith marriages, so they should not be doing it. We know both faiths have killed millions during Crusades time. But then today, next slide, Christians almost no restrictions on interfaith marriage across all 121 out of 122 nations. Major change from the Crusades times in 300, 400 years period. Versus Islam, still 1.1 billion restrictions plus. Next. So you can say that Christianity made a major progress. No doubt about it based on these numbers here right in front of you. And if I use the same word, anti-word against Islam, and that's Islam is still regressive, or I can say that Islam is at least a century behind times in progressing to the level of Christianity. Next slide. So you may ask, what is the advantage of Christianity, or that matter even dharmic nations, by being a progressive and open-minded? Nothing. First of all, the other comes and proselytize and convert people. And when it comes to interfaith marriages, they lose a lot of people to the other side. Compared to that, in Islam, it helps increase Muslim population, demographic. And you have to understand this conversion goes on, as I said, including my Bay Area, all pockets, slowly and slowly. India, so many interfaith marriages going on and conversion. So if you put collectively years rounds, one conversion, again, there is no statistic. There cannot be any statistics. Nobody can prove it. This will never go in the New York Times. It's because it's only one case at a time, but it's a slow progress. Interfaith marriage will lead to a major increase in Islamic population. That's what I believe. Next slide. So thinking why Christianity becomes progressive, what happened that in early period, the founders of different nations, they realized that church is meddling too much in their practices and the way they want to run the country, and they separated the church from state. Along there may be many other reasons. In Islam today, religions and politics cannot be separated. The head of state must be a Muslim. For example, Indonesia, Jakarta's last mayor in 2018, Mr. Purnima, was removed from the position for blasphemy and was imprisoned for 2 years. What was his fault? That he said something like that Quran allows non-Muslim to vote for Quran allows Muslim to vote non-Muslim like him. He was a Christian. And that cost him his position, and probably there will not be any other major city Islamic nations will allow non-Muslims to be head of the state. Compared to that, in America, Michigan's mayor is Muslim mayor. Soon Mamdani may become New York City mayor. London mayor is Mr. Khan. And Christians are happily celebrating them or embracing them. So clearly you can see there is open-minded on one side and long way to go for the other. Next slide. So I'm summarizing this way in my Patheos article. What I'm saying that it appears that a large segment of Muslim community remain complicit with the status quo. Have you heard anybody complaining about these things? No, because they know it's really good. Let them convert. Let them. We are increasing our population. So why there is a need to speak out, even though they may be claiming to be progressive, either through passive acceptance or active support. Next slide. So who are the rich victim of religious apartheid? Next slide. Definitely Muslim women, because they have different rights. Next slide. There may be many Muslim in Muslim countries, and they may be liberal. They are there for wrong reasons. They are atheists. They don't believe in this thing. They don't believe in converting anybody. Still, they are stuck. They must do it. Next slide. So next, yeah. But the major border is burden is on the minority faiths, fake convert, or either convert fake or give up the relationships. Next slide. So when they give up the relationship, actually the guilty feeling goes on this minority partner, because see, you did not convert, and that's why we fail in our relationship. And then they go through, I have just considered so many of them out of that 1300. They go through emotional stress, hardships, pain, suffering, depression, suicidal ideology. And its list is so bad. Next slide, please. Next, next. Geeta. I have a full interview with her. She married a Muslim by civil marriage when she was 8 months pregnant. Husband says, well, the child must be in name of Allah, and that's why you have to convert it. He trapped her to go to a mosque and was full to convert to Islam. She immediately got divorced, and today she says that if she sees a Muslim, she gets scared. She has Islamophobia. Next slide. Next. One more. Yeah. Next, Rinku. She was in having difficulty in Hindu marriage. A Muslim gym trainer got involved and helped them separate out. And then he says, well, I'm a married man, but I can accept you as my second wife. The case was in India. And but you have to convert to Islam. So she converted to Islam and start following Islamic practice. But then last second, that gym trainer says, nope, I changed my mind. I don't want to marry you. So she immediately converted back to me, and she has narrated that story beautifully. Next slide. Aditi, who first day of college, she fell in love with a Muslim guy was stalking her, and finally she fall in love. All 4 years, she says that they have done is fighting about Islam, 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 that is a great religion. At the end of the 4 year, he asked that I can marry you, provided you are ready to wear the burqa. And she says, no way, I'm not going to put on that thing. And they separated. See, all these figures, they are my good friends. I'm still in close contact with them. And they regret for their lifetime, for their mistakes. They curse themselves that why they cannot see what everybody keep on telling them, that this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. But now they are left to curse themselves. They cannot tell to their parents, they cannot tell to their husbands right now or children what major mistake they did it. So that's something to keep in mind. Next slide. So the list is big. Next slide. I have summarized the next. I have summarized some 50 cases on my Patheos list. You can check it over. Next slide. So you may be wondering, what is the solution? See, one important thing is you cannot stereotype. Because somebody has this last name, that means this person is this. For example, I'm Amin. That's a Muslim name. And if you start stereotyping me, I will feel offended. There are many Muslims, they are atheists. They don't believe in, they are ex-Muslims. And there are many open-minded progressive Muslims. And many Muslims wants to help us for our cause. So it's a no starter. If we just stereotype everybody, it will not help the cause. Next slide. Education is the key. And that's what I'm doing it. I hope you take this video and send it to 100 people, 1,000 people to educate the world. Next slide. The solution is somehow, with help of your group, we can pressure the government to reform their laws. Next slide. And that has to come from not from non-Muslims, but ideally it must come from within. The Muslim community must feel that we want to take the ownership of it. Enough is enough. Like Christianity improved, now we want to change too. Next slide. I have two good open-minded progressive Muslim friends. We have written a joint article in Patheos that Hindus are not kafir. They clearly stated that Hindus are believers. They believe in Bhagwan, and Hindus are not pagan. They are not idolatrous. They are people of book because they have Vedas and all that. And it's not a lip service. Mike Muhammad Gaush has conducted 560 marriages, and he does not ask for religious conversion for marriage. And I wish in next 10 years there will be 500 other Mikes stand out and start the new practice. You do not have to convert to marry a Muslim. Next slide. And let's say solutions. Again, I'm putting it sarcastically, but you may like it. Along with the ban, if the objective is to stop interfaith marriage, then and the government puts only restrictions on interfaith marriage registration, they should put the ban on dating also. And that's what Indonesia does in Jakarta. No, in Aceh province, they have a khalwat, zina, fornication laws. When a next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Yeah. When a Christian, let's say a Christian and a Muslim found dating, or whatever way they define that it's a khalwat zina, not the Christian party, but the Muslim party is put on the stage, as you can see here in the center, in the wearing white, and will be Ken. Maybe that's a solution world around. Next slide. So a good Muslim will want to respect Quran 24:30, will not get into dating to start with, so there is no question of getting into romantic relationships. And I respect those kind of Muslims and honor them. There are always some other bad elements who intentionally ignore Quran 24:30, get into romantic relations for 1 to 10 years, and finally before the marriage they says, I'm a Muslim, I need to follow Quran 221, you convert for our marriage. So if you are a victim of this situation, you must question whether are you a love jihadi or what. See, this LJ word is a very sensitive word. On one side, some people use for the political gain, and the other sides, the other extreme, they claim that there is nothing like that. There is no Muslim who will be involving in this kind of LJ activities. Next slide, please. So what I did, that I, being an academician, I wrote an academic article, Love Jihad, Use and Misuse of the Term. And it's nicely, I narrated all the details there. Next slide. Islamic network groups took an objection of me using, next slide, the word love jihad. In last 3 years, in spite of my repeated requests, they never bother reading it even. Just because I use this love jihad, next slide, they fired me from their Islamic network speakers bureau. and they had no decency of even informing me. See, such autocratic decisions are unfair to me, and it's not help for interfaith harmony. See, some people are so firm in their beliefs, they do not have any tolerance for any alternate thinking, and they take harsh action. Next slide, please. So let's end my presentation. That let's say one day you are nicely relaxing, having nice dinner in your home, and your son, daughter tells you, "Mom, I'm in love with Muhammad or Jennifer, or for that matter, Mahesh." What do you do? Based on what we have seen, what you heard all over so far, immediately pay attention to which country that party is coming from. If they are coming from one of those intolerant countries, you expect that the same country is also in their social studies books, they are taught same kind of intolerant messages, and the community as a mass understood that that's the way things should go. So even if that party is in America for 1 to 3 generations, accept that same thing will come back in your own married life after 5 or 10 years. And that's a really warning sign. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I always say that ask 2 questions. Number 1, do I have to convert for marriage? Next slide. And second, can we raise children in 2 faiths equally? And that's pluralism. Next slide. More specifically, I'm a Hindu. Do I have to have a bris, bar mitzvah, sahadat sunat? Those are religious rituals for Abrahamic. They will not accept each other's label, but they expect Hindus to accept in interfaith relationships. Hindu have to just decline it. No BBS. End of matter. Next slide. So what I'm saying that make fully informed decision, because if you don't, you will ruin your life and will cry like you will be part of that history, which I showed you so many of it. Next slide. I have published several books. Please read them. Next slide. I am also going to teach at Hindu University of America on interfaith marriages, challenges, and reconciliations starting October 6th. So please register for that course. Next slide. And in the end, I'm here to tell that remove this porous religious apartheid. Next slide. And bring back religious freedom to everyone. Let them follow however they wish to. That's my message. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Amin. Can we close the presentation, please?
Yes, I have ended sharing. Are you not able to? Are you still seeing it on your screen?
Okay, now it's gone.
Yeah.
So there are very few questions, Dr. Amin, in the chat room. I'll make some observations on your presentation. Now, you presented 3 case studies, and in the first case study, you did mention that this person, she would get, whenever she sees a Muslim, she gets fear, and she develops Islamophobia. Now, from a clinical perspective, that is a wrong interpretation. If you have been traumatized by a certain situation and you develop fear of that, that is realistic fear, it's not phobia. Okay. We tend to use this word Islamophobia very casually. But if there is, if you have been jumped on or mugged on a street and you see a robber, you will get fearful, and that's not phobia. That is a realistic fear. Phobia is a irrational fear. So I just wanted to let you know that there are certain semantics that are bandied around with possibly political overtones and to silence the critics.
On that point, if I may, uh, actually, yes, I consulted her. I told her this is just a temporary. You cannot do those things, and not every Muslims are bad. So no, I agree that it's irrational she has, but it's just that this is a new case. Still, she's just going through new situation, and agree it is a wrong use of the term in general. Agree, it's a legal term too.
Yeah. I think you did mention about some sort of moderate Muslims. And I think we again need to move away from that kind of terminology. If you believe in certain belief system and totally subscribe to it, there's no question of moderate, mild, or severe. Okay, you believe in that philosophy, you believe in that. So try to find distinctions is not helpful. You talked about Malaysia, and generally it is bandied around as a moderate Muslim democracy. But if you look at the constitution of Malaysia, there are restrictions. There is religious apartheid. So to term countries as moderate Muslim democracies, that term is used for at least 3 or 4 countries. Besides Malaysia, it's used for Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh constitution was secular, but now it has been changed. It has become an Islamic republic. You took the example of Turkey. Turkey, after the 1922 revolution by Kemal Atatürk, became secular. But last 20 years, it has changed the course. So it does not help us to use terminology which actually gives a different impression of what is actually going on. So I don't find that level moderate as very, very helpful. Now let's come to the case of Indonesia. Indonesia is a Muslim majority country. Having said that, there are 5 state religions. But because the predominant religion is Islam, despite having 5 state religions, and actually one of those religions is Christianity, other is Hinduism. In the province of Aceh, which is 100% Muslim, you have total implementation of Sharia law. So there are nuances about these things, and we should be politically exact rather than politically correct. That's the submission I'm trying to make here. So I'll go through the chat room and see how many questions are there. First question is from Mr. Clemens. If the society is complicit, what is the solution?
I would say that best we can do is just educate them, reach out to all those who may be more progressive minded and willing to support it. Otherwise, there is no way if outsider forces try to influence the Muslim majority nations to change their laws. I don't think that will work.
Okay. Second question is from Udit. What can one do if the partner goes back on his promise to not ask for conversion of the spouse or insists on raising the children in his faith?
Uh, those are the things to pre-decide before you marriage. And again, even if you pre-decide, still things will change after marriage, and then you are stuck. So what I recommend, that 2 points I mentioned while dating, when you ask your who are the loving partner, the next in at age 20, in college, invariably that partner will say yes, yes, no, I definitely agree, and this is what will happen, we'll have equality. So what you do is that go and show it to their parents, both sides of parents, that this is what our agreement is. And invariably, that's the time truth will come out. Immediately, parents will start complaining or protesting against it, and reality will come out. So that's the best you can do, is talk to parents beforehand that this is our understanding, and then only proceed further with marriage. And still after that, there is no guarantee that people will not take 180-degree turn. So that's the risk you are taking, and you have to decide whether you are ready, that risk is worth it for you.
Because I
No,
understand that a
wait,
Muslim.
wait a sec. We are not having cross discussions. We are not having cross
Okay.
discussions. That
Okay.
is not allowed in this forum.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Amin, one way of dealing with this in country like United States may be to sign a prenuptial agreement. If the other party refuses to sign prenuptial agreement, which specifies it's not a question of families meeting and all, you have a society that is run by law, and in this society, you can use the prenuptial agreement, and that will open your eyes before you actually enter into marriage. You can't do that for dating, but at least for marriage you can do.
Yes, it's a great suggestions, and actually I have a sample of prenuptial template on my website.
Okay.
Great
Next,
idea.
next question is again from Carl Clemens. Are free and open interreligious marriages always desirable? Are all religions compatible with one another?
Religions may not be compatible, they are not compatible. And other thing is that when you are at age 22, your religious belief is different than once you are become 45 and once you become 65. So whatever you are discussing in college, rara, that has no meaning, because things will change. So two religions are not compatible for sure. Clearly there are conflicts there. So you are just taking chances. It's all you have to decide whether is this interfaith marriage is worth for it. I cannot say I'm not for or against interfaith marriage, because I have seen many interfaith marriages working really, really great. Many Hindu Christian marriages I know in my own family, and there are no major issues. So there is no way I can stereotype. That is no way I can make a clear statement that one is better than over. Even within faith marriages also have enough of its own problems. So it's so fluid systems. Only thing I can suggest is whatever you do, make fully informed decisions, otherwise you will ruin your life.
Coming back to your presentation, there's one more observation. You talked about situation in Israel, that a marriage must be officiated by an Orthodox rabbi to be legal sanctity. Just want to add one correction to it. Israel is a democracy. 20% of population of Israel is of Arab origin and is Muslim, and they are allowed to marry. They don't have to follow the Orthodox Jewish rabbi officiating on the marriage as an injunction. So I know what you meant, but it gave a totally wrong picture of Israel as somewhat of an intolerant or restrictive society. They are the minority, which is predominantly Arab and Islamic. They are allowed to have their own
No,
personal.
that is correct. On my slide I clearly said that applies to Jewish majority. But the minorities, they can go to their own religious hates and get married and register it. Yes, but they don't have any civil marriage. Civil marriage is not allowed in Israel. Correct.
And the same thing holds true for the Christian minority in Israel.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
Or Hindu, that matter.
Next question is from Carl Clemens. Isn't there a limit to what the law can do in such cases of emotional pressure involving dating, marriages, and religious faith? Like date rape, the law will probably not consider targeted romance or grooming as illegal as long as serious physical violence is not involved.
Unfortunately, there is no law against it. You are just doomed because in the court, you can take it to court, but the other parties will say it was consensual. It was no force there. There was, unless you can prove it, and there was no physical violence. Then there is nothing to. You are just left to curse for your life for your mistake. That's about it, and that's why it's a very serious matter.
So that finishes the question and answer session, and we are at the end of our time. We usually have this session for 60 minutes. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Dilip Amin, for bringing forth an important topic that is shoved under the carpet in polite societies. But as upholders of religious freedom, as upholders of the rights of underrepresented, persecuted minorities, we have our duty and responsibility to throw light on this phenomenon that is not talked about because of political correctness. I may tell our viewers that this program has been recorded. It will be available as an educational resource on our YouTube channel as well as on our website. Thank you very much indeed to Dr. Amin as well as to our audience member, and we shall end this meeting at this juncture. Namaskar.